It's hard to know where to start with supplements and who to trust, but AG1 makes it so much easier. AG1 gives you increased energy and mood support. And it makes it easy to live your best life. If you're looking for an easy way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free... What? Oh, there's no such thing as free. A free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/IDKAT, or IDKAT as we used to call it. That's athleticgreens.com/IDKAT. Check it out. All things comedy. What does that mean? Is it all things, most things, or some things? You might find out on what's the name of the podcast? I don't know about that. With me, Jim Jefferies. Hello, everyone. We're in a new studio right now. All Things Comedy have been so nice to have let us into their studio and let us record here.
Well, we're on their network.
We're on their network, but they've also been very, very nice people. We're a big fan of the company, and thank you for having us.
We're officially on All Things Comedy Network.
We're officially on the All Things Comedy Network. Little shout out. Look, I've got lots of gigs coming up. There's only one thing I want you to do. 14th of February, Valentine's Day, Netflix, Jim Jefferies, High and Dry. Special is coming out, and watch that. I need you to watch it, because it's important to me, because I put a lot of effort and time into this one. And it's
when you leave the house, just turn on for your dog or something.
Yeah, just turn it on for your dog. Go. It's already on the webpage right now. You can just go and put the reminder on right now. Put the reminder on right now, and then walk out the house and go tell everyone Jim Jefferies has a new special coming out Valentine's Day. Now, if you haven't gotten a gift for your wife or girlfriend, I tell you what they love. Watching my comedy. Yeah, women love it. They fucking love it. Yeah, I got some anal jokes in there. I've got a joke about dragging my scrotum across my wife's face, and hello to my in-laws who listen to this podcast. So, listen to that. That'll be
spoiled a surprise for them.
Well, yeah.
There's more to that joke.
Yeah, there's more to it. That's just a little button.
Little taste.
A little taste or smell, if you will.
So February 14th, Netflix. Yeah. Watch it.
February 14th, Netflix. And I've got a European tour and an England tour. And
Las Vegas this week.
Las Vegas this week. Actually, Las Vegas this week. Come to Las Vegas this week.
The 10th and the 11th at the Mirage.
10th and 11th. The Super Bowl weekend. My birthday weekend. I'm having a lot of my friends coming out. Everything. I'm going to have a blast.
And then the 24th and 25th, you're at a casino in Bensalem, Pennsylvania.
They're both selling out already. Don't worry about them. They're all fine. I'm up in Canada. All the tickets are sold for those. England, all the tickets are basically sold. There's Europe and stuff. If you want to get into the England, the UK shows, they're all almost sold out. We've had to add a show in Manchester. We had to add a show in London at the Apollo. We've had to expand the room in Brighton by twice. So, look, I haven't been to the UK for a long time, and I didn't know whether you'd still come back to see me, and I am touched.
Well, yeah.
But more importantly, watch the special. And if you're worrying about, if you've got tickets to come and see me, and you're going, I don't want to watch the special because I might see some of the same jokes, I've got a new show for you. And I'm writing it as we speak.
He's good.
All right. Well, go to jimjefferies.com for that. And with that, let's hear some ads.
Our next partner is Athletic Greens. I take AG1 in the morning before I start my day, and it makes me feel and look good, and does something good for my body and gives me the nutrition my body craves. If you're looking at me right now and you're thinking, geez, that guy looks not very healthy, imagine how unhealthy I'd look without this. It's hard to know where to start with supplements and who to trust, but AG1 makes it easy, and so much easier than that. Very quickly, I noticed it helped with my sleep and with my energy. I came back from 2 months of a tour, and it's hard to get back on a sleep schedule after a big tour like that. Got on the AG1, sleeping like a baby. Very quickly, I noticed it helped me with my sleep and energy. I take it with brunch and different things. I mix 1 scoop in, 1 powder of water, and then do it twice a day, once a day. But look at this.
Big gulp.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this.
Oh, it is. It's delicious. Yeah. It is delicious.
Wait, you're not supposed to act like that's the first time.
No. It is delicious. It's like a limey thing. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's good.
AG1 is designed with ease in mind, so you can live healthier and better without having a lot. It's the healthiest thing you can do under a minute. Name me a thing you can do healthier than this in under a minute. You can't. Don't try. AG1 is powerful because it's so easy to fit into your lifestyle. It's 1 scoop of powder mixed with water once a day. AG1 has been part of millions of mornings since 2010. Lifetime ago. AG1 gives you increased energy and moon support, making it easy to live your best life. If you're looking for an easy way to take your supplements, Athletic Green is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/IDKAT, IDKAT. That's athleticgreens.com/IDKAT. Check it out. AG1.
All right, please welcome our guest, Ian Rafalko.
Hello, Ian. Now it's time to play. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
Next time, forgot about that. It's been a while.
Jack didn't do his job. Smash.
Okay, here's Ian.
G'day, Ian. So, okay, looking at Ian, it's a very nondescript world. You look like you're from like an artistic movie with the blurred vision in the back, and that you might. Are you a cult leader, Ian?
No.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
No, but I mean,
You really honed in.
he's not a cult leader, but you're on the right track.
Is your topic got something to do with religion?
Wow, did you look at my
Perhaps.
computer?
Some people might say.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people might say.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about Scientology?
Yes.
Wow.
Really?
That was so impressive.
Good
Jared.
work.
How did you know
First
that?
time
That was
back
good.
in 2 months.
I just feel like that's something we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to get in trouble.
I
They'll
don't,
come after us. They're not fun people.
I don't know if we're going to
Nah.
get in trouble, but that was pretty quick. That doesn't happen that often. It's usually
I don't know. I really
a
didn't
struggle.
cheat. I don't know
That
how
was
that
incredible.
happened.
Usually
Y'all
ask
built it up like it would be some big, big secret.
Listen,
but I guess I just
We're
give
all
off.
just as surprised
You
as
give
you.
off some
Culty vibes.
Scientology vibes, brother.
Let me introduce Ian. Ian Rafalko was born and raised as a Scientologist. He spent 23 years in the church attaining the state of clear and was a Scientology staff member.
No, it's okay. He's over there.
Was a Scientology staff member and auditor for 3.5 years. After facing constant abuse, he was able to escape the church and has dedicated himself to educating people through various platforms about the truth behind Scientology and how manipulation harms people, especially of the younger generation. You can find him on IG and Twitter at Ian Rafalko. That is Rafalko. And then his YouTube channel, Ian Rafalko. You can find him there as well. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel and a little bit about your background too, because I just gave a brief description there. So.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of popped off on TikTok after I outed my pseudo celebrity father as a Scientologist. He's like he donates like millions of dollars to the cult, so he didn't like that very much, and my whole family sort of cut me off after that, and I spent a lot of time figuring out what I was going to do, and people like the way I talk about Scientology, so I went and got a bunch of therapy, which that's pretty good. And
Better help.
I found my own sort of voice. I do kind of some reactions to Scientologists on my YouTube channel. I did even a TikTok reaction because there are some weird Scientologists on TikTok who spread a lot of bizarre propaganda there, and I've been getting hate ever since. Not too much to say, really.
It was very brave what you do. I watched that Leah Remini. Yeah. The people that they go after, and they keep on hunting them and stuff like that, and defaming them. It's very brave what you do. All right, so Forrest, what do you got for me?
Okay, I'm going to ask Jim a series of questions about Scientology, and when I'm done asking him those, he's done answering those. Ian, you're going to grade him on his accuracy, 0 through 10, 10 being the best. Kelly's going to grade him on his confidence. I'm going to grade him on et cetera. We'll add all those scores together. 21 through 30, Dianetics. 11 through 20, anorexic. 0 through 10, diuretic.
Ah, yes.
He's familiar with that one.
I will say this. I've lived in Hollywood now for 15 years or thereabouts, and I've done acting jobs, and I've been on television and stuff like that. Not once have they approached me. Every time I meet Scientologists on set, and I think, just hand me a flyer. I just want to have the option. You know what I mean? Like, just try to, like, just hit on me.
You would blow the whole thing up in a day.
Nah, they don't want me.
They don't want you.
They don't want me.
He talks too much.
They don't want me. And I don't think Scientology is any more stupid than the other religions. I'm anti all religion. I've been very vocal about this over the years, and I don't judge Scientologists as much as I judge any other religious person. I think you're all fools. But thanks for listening.
All right. Who founded Scientology?
L. Ron Hubbard, swish. Give me a point.
How did L. Ron Hubbard come up with the idea to start Scientology?
L. Ron Hubbard, if I'm correct, was a science fiction novelist, and he was quoted as saying something along the lines of, if you want to get rich, start a religion. And there's a lot, because I know the Scientologists fought for a very long time to get the tax-free status and all that type of stuff. So I reckon, how did he start it? I reckon he wrote one of his books, and then he just sort of went, and that's real. Same way all religion starts. Someone wrote a book, and that was a bit of science fiction, and went, and it's real.
He's like, that was a really good one. That was my best one. Yeah. That one's real.
What are the basic beliefs of Scientology?
Always be prepared.
Yeah. That's one.
No, there's something about. Oh, geez, what is their beliefs? I've never known that. They believe in spaceships. There's going to be a spaceship that's going to take us off. There's thetans and stuff. There's some aliens that have taken over our bodies, right? They help us out a bit. And there's something about science, and you got to hold these metal rods in your hand that look like a couple of vibrators with the cords on them, and then you got to tell things, and a little thing goes like this, and they go. Oh.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. What are the beliefs? That's all you got for the beliefs?
Look, I'm sure their beliefs are probably, like all religion, pretty sound. You know, they're probably the Ten Commandment type of things. They're probably like, don't hurt people, try to be nice. Mm-hmm. Tom Cruise movies rocks.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Is Scientology a religion?
Yes.
Okay. Where is Scientology based?
Well, the big celebrity center's here in LA, but there is a big one in Florida. And I want to say, it's some buttfuck town where you're from. It's like
I'm from Miami.
Yeah. No, I want to say it's like Tampa or something. Yeah. It's like Tampa or somewhere around there.
Close, yeah.
One of those ones.
How many countries will you find Scientology in?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them. I tell you what, I once went for a Scientology test in Perth, Australia. And so when they get to Perth, that's the most isolated city on earth. They've really gone for it. So I think pretty much all of them. I don't imagine they've cracked Israel. No. I reckon they haven't cracked Israel. They've probably gone in there and
enough religions there.
Yeah, they're like, oh, geez, the marketplace is pretty full. So probably not Israel, probably not Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. I reckon the Muslims have pushed them out too much. They haven't put a free market.
How many Scientologists are there?
In the world, I reckon we're looking at 20 million.
20 million.
Yeah, a little bit less than the population of Australia, I reckon, Scientologists.
Are there costs associated with Scientology?
Yeah, well, you have to pay for the book. You've got to buy the books. You've got to keep buying the books, and then you've got to go for the sessions. And if you want to get higher up in the ranks, right, if you want to get clearer and all this type of stuff and go through all the different ranks, then you have to do courses. So there are fees, but they're not fees in the way that, hey, well, you can donate money. You can just give money. Then the church would probably ask for you to give money. But it's not a fee. It's a course to help you out, Forrest.
Sure.
So, you're paying for a service.
Do you know what the International Association of Scientologists is, or the IAS?
International Association of Scientologists. Yeah. Well, that's like the headmasters. They're like the big ones. It's like that guy who they can't find his wife. She's gone.
Okay. What does going clear mean?
Going clear means that you're reaching a high level status of your, I don't know if there's an outfit involved, but I feel like there'd be a hat.
Yeah. Right? Definitely a hat.
You'd get a hat, and the hat would say, I'm clear.
Yeah, I think that's what you get at the airport.
Yeah.
I have clear. It's like $100 a year. It's pretty good.
It gets you on the plane quicker.
America only joke, by the way. Yeah. But yes, okay. What is a thetan?
The thetans are the aliens that came down and they took over people's bodies and stuff like that. I think they're good. I don't think they're villains.
I know nothing.
I think the thetans are on our side. If you're a Scientologist, you go, oh yeah, I fucking spoke to a thetan the other day. But that must have been fun. Yeah, it was real good.
What is auditing?
Auditing is where you hold the two vibrators, and then they record you saying all so you say all your worst things.
Do you know what that machine's called, or?
I don't know what the name of the machine is.
Well,
I would. I've seen documentaries.
The next question is, what does an e-meter do?
That's the e-meter, right? So the e-meter. So you sit there and you go. They go, have you ever had, say, homosexual thoughts or something like that? And you're a movie star, and maybe your name is John Peralta, right? Oh, okay. And then he goes, oh yeah, I've had a couple, and then they go, oh, we've recorded that in case you ever want to do something wrong. Got that. You know what I mean?
This is your interpretation?
Yeah, that's what happens. They don't say that to you.
So it's where they collect blackmail, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of blackmail going on. Well, in the documentaries I've seen, it says, so you tell them all your dark, I'm sure there's something good about it. You say all your fears, which is basically like therapy, right? You say, I'm worried about this, I have a problem with this, I think about this all the time or whatever. And then, it clears your mind because a problem shared is a problem halved.
Okay, what is the Free Winds? Like, it's the name of something.
Oh, that's the song they sing when someone dies. Free wind, blowing in the sky, like that. It's like Freebird, but it's the Scientology version.
Okay,
the solo's 20 minutes long.
Yeah, a guitar solo at the fucking wazoo. Yeah. I bet you they'd have some good guitar players. I just learnt Lisa Marie Presley was one, just watching the documentary, and Priscilla Presley was a Scientologist when Elvis died. Didn't know that. That was in the 70s.
I think Seinfeld was in it for a bit.
No, I'm trying to go clear. What's the deal with Thetans?
What is the, quote, the bridge to total freedom?
The bridge to total freedom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Always telling the truth.
Okay.
What
does...
It's a good thing, good way to live your life.
What does space opera mean in reference to Scientology? And who is Xenu?
Xenu is the guy that lives on the planet. It's who? I thought Xenu...
X-E-N...
I thought Xenu was their where the mothership was going to take them to.
I know nothing.
Okay,
really
so Xenu is their utopia where they're all going to go to once we're all passed over.
And the space opera.
In the space opera is getting on the plane and they all go off into space and they all they go off and do that. It's no more ridiculous than all the other rubbish. It's all the same crap.
Why do they reject psychiatry?
They don't, for some reason, they get very angry at antidepressants because I think it goes against their e-meter system where they don't need, if people get happy off drugs, that works against them. Okay. They're like, we can't control people who are happy. We need people who are in despair. So a lot of the religions and all religions sort of do this a little bit, and definitely cults do this, is like, hey, so when I went in, I did a test in Perth and they said, what colour is this? And I went, oh, it's blue. What number is this? Oh, that's a number 10 or whatever. A few questions. And at the end, a guy looked at it and he went, huh. And then he got another person to check my chart. And they were like this, it can't be. And another person, they all looked at it. This is craziness. And I'm sitting there like this.
You did it.
Whoa. And then they come in and they go, you might be one of the smartest people that has ever lived. And I'm like, me? And they go, yes, you. And they go, yes, you might be one of the smartest people that ever lived, but your genius is untapped. And I went, I knew it. I knew it was untapped genius.
Did you bring your checkbook?
My mother was right. But with Scientology, we can release all the badness or whatever and make you into the... Now, mind you, this is 28 years ago I did this, right? So they might have changed their policies a bit. But back then in Perth, it was just a bloke.
Yeah.
It was just a bloke in a room with a picture of L. Ron Hubbard behind him, just like, my name's Dave, and I'm going to do a personality test.
Who are, quote, suppressive persons?
Suppressive persons are people like me and you who speak out against the religion, even though you don't know anything about it.
I don't speak. Or Ian?
Ian's a suppressive all fucking day.
Okay.
So suppressives, they talk out against the religion, and then they, ironically, try to suppress those people's free speech.
Try to suppress the suppressors.
Yeah, they try to suppress the suppressors, man.
Couple more questions. What was Operation Snow White?
Operation Snow White.
If you don't know that, Operation Freakout.
No. Operation Snow White was they had 6 dwarf members and they needed a 7th. And they tried to get Brad Williams and he was like, I don't know, man.
Maybe he is.
I think it's a new Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I'm going to see him next week. I'll ask Brad if he's part of Operation Snow White.
What about Operation Freakout? Do you know what that is?
Operation Freakout, I don't know what that is, no.
Okay. What Okay, so those are criminal activity things, but we'll find out about them. What criminal activity has Scientology been associated with that you know about, or any controversies? Or?
There has been kidnapping and torturing accusations where people haven't been allowed to leave buildings and stuff like that, and they've been demeaned and all that sort of stuff. And then you can be like on this boat. I remember the documentary, there's a boat. And if you get to work on the boat, and they all dress like they're all like sailors and all this type of stuff. And those people were pretty badly abused. And David McSavage, he has been accused of killing his wife. And no one has seen her for like years. And he's like, don't worry about her. They're like, where is she, David? He's like, doesn't matter. Like, he's not even... No one's checking, man.
All right.
You were really close on his last name, but you said Mick Savage, which is so much better than his actual last name.
Mick Savage. I changed the name so I don't get in trouble.
Okay,
but Mick Savage is also the McDonald's burger that has a bit of chili on it.
Yum.
Ian
Limited.
Rafalko, how did Jim do in his knowledge of Scientology? 0 through 10. 10's the best.
I'd say probably like a 2.5 to 3.
All right.
At best.
All right.
I mean, you to me, it's almost a textbook victim of Scientology propaganda. You basically, you might as well work there.
All right, good.
Untapped
He is
genius.
brilliant.
Untapped genius.
Well, I am an untapped genius. So that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's all the things that they tell people. I mean, more or less. You also had a Heaven's Gate comparison in there somewhere with the mothership and all that.
You don't have a mothership? That was the only reason I was considering the religion.
I can tell you saw the South Park episode probably a week after it came out, not a single day after.
I don't really watch South Park. I did watch the Lisa Remini.
Leah.
I watched her.
Yeah.
No, Lisa.
And I watched
Savage.
And I've watched that Tom Cruise thing where they go ding 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 ding. He goes, when you're a Scientologist, you have to da da da. And if you see something, and then he goes like that. I've seen that. That's just for fun though. And then he gets given like a phony baloney medal. Like, here, you've won the best guy ever medal. And he's like, boom, and everyone stood up. And then he salutes McSavage.
Mick Savage. Kelly, how do you do in confidence?
Confidence started, I graded him after the first question. L. Ron Hubbard's Swish, it was a 10.
10.
I also watched that documentary that the guy who undercovers things, the British guy.
My Scientology movie?
Oh, the guy that they had the Louis...
Louis Vuitton.
Louis Theroux.
Louis Theroux, thank you.
Yeah, the Louis Theroux one where they've got actors to, like, he auditioned a whole lot of actors to be Scientologists. I thought that one was pretty cool.
All right, that's like you're at 12.5. You're not going to be anorexic.
I watched all of these high.
So it's et cetera minus 5.
Yeah, and in the background, it seems. Yeah. Backgrounds with a chili dog, on your lap, and it's kind of the AC's blowing, so you kind of just hearing the jizz.
Et cetera minus 5. You're diuretic. Okay. Who founded Scientology? L. Ron Hubbard. Did he swish that one? He got that one? Okay.
That was a swish. That was a slam dunk.
And how did he come up with the idea? He said he wrote a novel and that he had a quote, if you wanted to get rich. Why don't you tell us? Yeah. How did he come up with the idea?
Yeah, well, I mean, he was a science fiction writer, and he tried to he hung out with this guy named Aleister Crowley, who was like a Satanist, and he had a lot of narcissistic behaviors that it kind of led him to realize that, maybe if I know everything there is to know about the mind, so maybe I'll just make a science. And he tried to just make his own science, and he found out there was more money in religion. So, I mean, that's the short and skinny of it. Is he basically tried to make a science-based religion without actually having any scientific background.
Do you think he believed in it himself? Was his ego so big that when he came up with this, he was like, "Fucking hell! Why didn't anyone else come up with this? I'm so right."
To some degree, but there's a lot of the claims to evidence ratio is like 50,000 to 1. So he sort of claimed to have this greater knowledge. He also claimed that he was the Antichrist and that he was a Buddha in his past life and that he was some mystical being that came here to Earth. To spread this one true knowledge. There's a lot of it gets crazy. The lore is like set in a progressive. I call it the lore. I mean, it's just basically what they believe from their perspective. But Yeah, so he just kind of realized that it would be a lot more beneficial financially for him to just start a religion, so that's what he did.
Now, when he first started it, this is the next question, isn't it? Like when he first started, how many disciples did he have? How quickly did it build?
Yeah, you can. I mean, we can go out of order. Like you can say how many when it started and how many are there now. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. So when it started, there was just small. So he started in 1950, released a book called Dianetics, which is the one a lot of people know about, and it was claimed to be a new science of the mind, a modern science of mental health, and he submitted it to the American Medical Association and the APA, and they basically laughed at it because there was so little evidence that it was, they were like, we really can't do anything with this, and so he was like, well, fuck you. I'm the smartest man that there is. Fuck you. You're all commie bastards who are trying to take us down and you're trying to suffocate us. So within 2 years of writing Dianetics, he was already founding Scientology. But now, the church, I like to tell you that it has 11,000 churches in 165 countries or so. But they make it very hard to prove that information. And the real numbers have been run in present day. And it's probably somewhere around 1,500 churches and missions.
Wow.
Probably still in just as many countries, but I'd say there's only about, from sort of collaborated census data, there's only about 25 to 30,000 Scientologists in the world.
Don't they buy up a lot of buildings and market them as Scientology buildings, but they're pretty much empty?
Hold on a second.
So hang on.
Yeah.
So how many all up did you just say?
30. Yeah. You said 20 million. That's what
max 30K.
30,000.
You knew about it was funny because when I first left, I had the same perspective because they give you these big animations with all these numbers and all these statistics going up, and they talk about, oh well, we've reached 10 million people this year with Dianetics and Scientology, but it's really just David Miscavige blowing smoke up their ass.
Now, with lots of religions, and so are you? How do I say this? Can you fuck outside the religion? Are you allowed to marry outside the religion? Or is it there's a lot of Judaism? They always try to keep it.
Yeah. Or convert you.
Or convert you and try to keep you into it. There's only 13,000 people.
30,000.
So my question is, there must be shitloads of inbreeding in Scientology.
You can't. So there's two kind of I guess you could say levels to Scientologists. Now you have there's Sea Org members, which are the people who sign the billion-year contract and they kind of devote their existence to Scientology, and they're sort of involved in sort of the management aspect, and they essentially become property of the church. They don't pay bills, they get fed. They get moved around. They can just send you wherever you go. They are not allowed to marry people or date who are not Scientologists. You actually have to physically write clerical requests if you want to engage another Sea Org member romantically. Jeez. There's a lot of nuance there, but you can underneath that, if you don't sign the contract, you can date and marry whoever you want as long as they're not critical of Scientology.
Oh, okay.
But that's going to be you just had sex with someone. You're like, hey, by the way, I'm a Scientologist. You're like, yeah, I got to check on something in my car.
A lot of one-night stands in Scientology.
But also billion-year contract. Yeah, make it 10 billion.
Yeah, fuck it. Who cares?
Yeah. Why isn't it forever year forever?
Infinity
contract.
What's cute about it is because they believe in past lives is that when you die, you get a 21-year leave of absence before you're requested to come back in your next life to rejoin the Sea Org. So it's pretty generous, honestly. I mean,
that's like your gut years.
You just die of old age.
And like Kelly was saying but there's a lot of property that's owned, right? I mean, it seems like in LA at least there's a lot of property.
They buy up a lot of buildings, and a lot of buildings are empty. That's what I saw in some documentary, but I'm wrong about everything.
I feel like there's 10 just in Hollywood.
My last apartment had a view of a Scientology building from my balcony.
Yeah.
They own quite a bit.
I've met plenty of Scientologists.
You met them all.
I've met a lot of them, right? And they're always very nice, decent people. They've never tried to recruit me, as I've mentioned, but I've never had a run-in with one.
I think with any type of religion or cult like this, though, the general population of the religion or cult are normal, hardworking, nice people. It's the people in charge that are exploiting that.
When you go to church, is there songs? It always feels like religion has songs.
Yeah.
Do you get and are there black and white churches where the music's a little bit better?
A black Scientology church?
The black Scientology church, where there's more tambourine and more clapping, right? And then the white ones
a
is
little
just
bit
like,
of rhythm at least.
Give me an L, give me a Ron, give me a Hubbard.
Sadly, there is music, and I say sadly because it is all atrocious. They're actually, you have to have a lot of money to sort of constantly participate in Scientology. So you really only see like, people who hang around because they're doing courses. Like they're very bizarre people. When you're actually like meeting them day to day, the reason you're probably not recruited is because they don't look at people who are generally humorous as beneficial to Scientology. If you there's actually a policy called jokers and degraders, and it's said that if you tend to make jokes about things, it's because you don't really understand the importance, or you don't really, you're bound to make trouble. You're going to degrade
That's a good name
the
for a
value
podcast. That jokers and degraders, and so that's why
they haven't asked.
And so, are there any comedians? I don't know if there has been a stand-up comedian who's been one.
Not funny ones.
No.
Yeah, I can't think of any. You said Seinfeld?
You said Seinfeld. I don't know.
I read it on the internet
Where
somewhere.
have you got this
I think it was
information?
brief.
I
It was
don't think
brief.
it was Seinfeld.
Like Grateful Dead were in it very briefly too, but it's just the beginning because
The
apparently
whole band?
some of them, because like apparently the beginning of Scientology is just like basic self-help stuff, and that was they were doing it back when it was like in its infancy. Now obviously you know what it is, but when it was
I don't know
younger.
any.
But you've got enough musicians. The songs should be better. You know
You
what I
got
mean?
Beck.
They should be.
Yeah, they got
You're
Beck.
right.
Beck should write a few
just
tunes.
Beck alone. Just do all their music. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the basic beliefs of Scientology? Jim was having trouble with that.
Well, the basic beliefs of Scientology is that you are a spiritual being called a Thetan. So the Thetan is you as a being without your body or without your mind. You're just like an unmeasurable perspective, so to speak. Just kind of like a entity of no mass and no wavelength. And that you are an immortal being who's lived millions of lives, and that there are certain aspects to existence that in the beginning, it does kind of seem like more basic self-help, or like a lot of the non-confidential aspects do seem very similar to other religions, but those are the basic beliefs. There's different. I guess you could say tool structures for understanding. Like there's a lot of redefining of words so that you can fit these sort of tools, like something called the ARC triangle, which is something to allow you to communicate better with others. And there's communication training that you can do. There's a lot of initial steps forward to like make you think more of others, but it becomes sort of muddied as you go along, and they're a very private group. Like once you start to believe that Scientology is like which is what they want, is they want you to believe that Scientology is like the most ethical religion in the world, and so anyone who's trying to make fun of it or challenge it, they are engaging in some like dangerous, evil, malicious activity, and they're paid by, big pharma, and everyone's paid. Apparently there's some massive money line to like make fun of Scientology. It's just like a very it's like a narcissist factory.
Hillary Clinton pays me for years to talk out against Trump. That was her big move. And I've opened up about it, and people don't believe me, but there was checks all the time. They wouldn't stop
He's
coming.
Extremely well.
How was the world created? Because the religion I grew up with, there was a bloke on a cloud who did it in 6 days and then had a bit of a rest. On the first day, he just made things, and the second day, he made some animals. Well, how was the world created?
Well, so you get into it's a bit of a loaded question, but the short and skinny of it is trillions of years ago, we were all, Thetans who didn't have bodies, and we were out there creating things, whatever we want. We were morphing planets with our hands and, colliding things to make stars and, people then, beings then confused other beings, and these confusions turned to what are called overts, which are transgressions that accumulate mass that solidify you, and then soon you forget that you're a spiritual being, and then you need matter and energy and space and time to make sense of things. It's like a very grandiose.
Yeah. Seems like all religion just tries to confuse you.
So they just say a lot of things. So we were molding things with our hands.
Yeah.
And then there was is L. Ron Hubbard? Is he God or is he a prophet?
He's more so like a prophet, you could say. He's like he has had this knowledge for his many lifetimes or something, and he has some. But there is no God in Scientology.
So there's no one above L. Ron H.
No.
Were his sci-fi books any good?
Not Battlefield Earth, if the movie was anything to go by. If the movie was anything to go by, that was a weak-ass film. But I'll be honest with you, Jack, I haven't read a book.
And
not a single one.
And Scientology,
genius.
You say it is a religion. Jim said it's a religion, yes, or not a cult, or
legally.
What? Okay,
it's legally a religion.
I mean, you can't legally classify a cult really these days. You can really just say something is a religion or colloquially a cult.
Yeah, a cult. The difference between religious and cult is just time, right?
Yeah, that's what you said on this podcast. Yeah,
I'm a smart podcast. I can say it as much as I want.
There's a measure of where it passes over into the cult territory is there's a measure of coercive control and deprivation of certain freedoms that creates this sort of cycle. There's like a self-sealing cycle of self-control where you kind of report yourself and that you report others, and there are reasons that you would have. There are special Scientology reasons that you have negative thoughts, period, as well as negative thoughts against Scientology. So these are all kind of create this like inner cycling loop of control, especially because Scientology thinks of itself as like such a important thing. They're allowed to lie as long as it's on behalf of Scientology.
Now,
as long as it protects.
What about abortion?
What things are banned in your religion? Like, I know you're not still in religion, but like, so Muslims, Jews, no pork.
No, I was talking abortion.
Yeah,
marriage.
but let's start with pork.
These are classic religion ones.
You can eat pork. Pork is good.
You can eat pork.
Pork's solid.
Can I watch porn?
No. So, well, you
how
can.
They do. How are they going to expand this religion?
They haven't really, I guess.
It really depends on who you ask, because as an auditor, I did a lot of those interrogations or sec checks, security checks, where you put somebody on the e-meter and you hand them the cans, they're
cans,
like
those are
aluminum, or not aluminum, but they're these electrodes that basically. We'll get to that question, but
is homosexuality allowed?
No, not in a lore perspective. Like, they are being inclusive to kind of let anybody join in, but it is eventually expected that you cleanse yourself of the aberration or irregularity that is homosexual thoughts.
What about abortion? Where does that go?
Forrest
funny,
has
I
this
don't have
Scientologist chick that he's been fucking.
Important question.
They only have 30,000 members. You think they're going to let you kill off the next one?
I guess not.
That's a good point.
It's crazy, because L. Ron Hubbard actually said that women who get abortions are up there with perverts and scandalous drug addicts and demented people. But but when you're in the Sea Org, they want you to be so committed, they don't allow you to have children anymore. They used to, and they used to raise these children. But so they used to have something called the cadet org, which is where all these there was like one guy to 40 kids, and they would just raise them in the Sea Org, and they were just born Sea Org members. And I've known many people who grew up in that, but they don't do that anymore because there's it's a lot of fucking work, I guess, and a lot of legal
Yeah.
issues, and there was a lot of sexual abuse that they couldn't really account for. So,
All right, well, so did L. Ron Hubbard? Because every cult leader or religious leader, there's always a documentary, and there's always a lot of girls involved. Did he sleep around? Did L. Ron have a group of women? Was that his jam?
I don't think he had a like a harem, like a Keith Raniere type harem of women.
That's because he didn't play volleyball.
Yeah, God. Thankfully, they want you to sleep. There's not too much sleep deprivation when you're not in the Sea Org, so I didn't have to do 4 a.m. volleyball sessions. But
what are you talking about, NXIVM?
Yeah, NXIVM.
Okay.
So Keith Raniere was the leader of NXIVM.
I know Keith Raniere.
So he had a little volleyball league. He seemed very confused.
But he there were some women who came out who when he was on the Apollo, which is the first ship that he got onto, L. Ron Hubbard, to sort of escape the law in several different countries. That's when he founded the Sea Organization, and he just brought on a bunch of teenagers and people who had been with him for a while, and there were some women who came out and they said he had done some naughty. But that was a long time ago. They were able to crush those people
What year did
legally.
What year did he die?
1986.
That's when his body left. And
21 years.
Did something. So 1986.
That's when I was born, so
Scientology.
I could be him.
You might be L. Ron Hubbard in a new body.
Was he buried,
Have you
or was
thought
he
about going in there?
Was his ashes thrown up into the sky or something? What happened to the corpse?
That's a little iffy. There were autopsies. There was like a kind of a battle back and forth between who got the body, but the autopsy reports were pretty crazy. They said he had like hydrazine in his system, and there was which is jet fuel, like rocket fuel.
Jesus Christ.
So he actually died. At the end of his life, he was so terrified and paranoid of the law, because he had been evading all these different allegations from many different countries. He just got in an RV and went out to the middle of nowhere and just, started doing a bunch of drugs and died with his hair long and his nails long. And,
he Howard Hughes the end, did he? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I got more respect for him now. Because I know that's how I'll end up. So I understand this guy.
Scientology we skipped this one, was based, Jim said, somewhere in Florida, but I believe it's Clearwater, right?
So it has a couple different management buildings all over the world, but mainly it's wherever David Miscavige is. And David Miscavige has in Hemet, California, there's a kind of a compound called Gold Base, and that's where that's one of the main places that he. It's where they film a lot of the Scientology propaganda. There's like a big studio there, and then behind the studio, he has like a several $1 million office and house and a bunch of cars, and then the Florida one is called Flag, and it's like a $430 million building in the middle of Clearwater, Florida, which is close to Tampa. You were close.
Yeah. And that's where you were, right?
That's where I trained, for a while.
And so who's the most famous ones now? Because we've got Tom Cruise, John Travolta, and Beck.
Wasn't Will Smith in it?
But there was like a whole lot of people.
Kirstie Alley was.
Danny Masterson.
Danny Masterson, he must be on the outs.
Yeah, I would assume
He
so.
must be.
He's on his way, yeah.
He didn't even make
They're
it
not
into that
protecting too
90s
much
show.
anymore.
If you watch that 90s show, he's the only one who doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, some things happened. Kirstie Alley died.
Yeah,
but she hadn't been.
She seemed like a nice lady. So David McSavage, and that's what I call him, right?
Yeah.
Was he? Because I always am fascinated because look, I can talk to a room full of people and make them all laugh, or make them, I can control a room of people to a small extent, right? I'm always fascinated by people who can control people all day, every day, for like 24 hours a day, and then large groups. I could never do that. Have you met McSavage, and was he a cool guy? Like, is he charming?
No, I haven't personally met him. I've seen him, and I know a lot of people who have met him. And the attitude when you are working for Scientology is very I guess you would say on purpose is what they would how they would describe it. You're not, there is no downtime.
Right.
If you're sleeping, you're sleeping. It's after your post, and when you're awake. and it's post time, you're on post. You're not doing anything else. You do not question orders. You're not. It's a very strict thing. I mean, he's known to be a very aggressive, screaming, yelling, swearing. But he practices these speeches that he does for the public in these public events, for like weeks beforehand. So, when he can use, there's so much sort of internal paranoia in the lore of Scientology and who our enemies are and like, the fact that Scientology is shrinking which it is like, to them, this kind of battle they're losing because they aren't doing enough, or they haven't found the right suppressive who's hiding amongst the ranks. And so he's a very spiteful person. I've heard stories where he'll just like cold clock people working beneath him because they,
You can jump ahead to that too, suppressive persons and stuff. You can talk about that, what that is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said it was Sorry, just quickly. You said it was shrinking, right? I didn't know it was actually shrinking. And is all these documentaries and what we're doing right now, is this the reason it's shrinking, or is it just because religion in general, or
a little bit of both? I mean, it's like the more public, the more minute details that Scientology doesn't tell you, the more public that becomes, like in the age of the internet, and people who just, they're very good at they're very important. There's a very important emphasis on like how to deal with people who are critical of Scientology and how to stop people who are leaving Scientology from talking about it. And more of those people are coming out and talking about it, and more people are leaving and saying, hey, well, this happened to me. And then Scientology will say, oh, well, this person just disgruntled, or and then they have like Kelly was saying, like blackmail, like you do a lot of the auditing or counseling, and you do talk about these sort of minute, you're encouraged to be a completely open book. So everything you use and everything you say can and will be used against you to some degree if they think it's valuable strategically, to sort of shame you down into the dirt. So this reputation Scientology has of being very malicious and harassing people and going after individuals in companies as opposed to like companies as a whole. That's why a lot of people just they're afraid. They think that Scientology is going to, come knocking on their door when they really haven't like successfully sued anyone in over 20 years. So like
should we be worried talking about it?
You shouldn't be worried. I think you'll be fine. Like you said, they didn't seem like they wanted you very much. There's a couple of social media.
They don't want jokers and
graders. Is there anything about? I'm sure you miss many members of your family who you haven't spoken to since you've left the church, and I don't know about that. But is there anything that you miss about the religion where you go, fucking Taco Tuesdays, man? It was the best.
Every Christmas, at least when I was on staff. I mean, staff was awful, but there's something called the beer and cheese party, where it's good. Like it's one day of the year where there's no like real too much celebrated holidays. Like they close when they know no one is coming in under any circumstances, which is almost never. It was around COVID they started to do that, but like they're open during Christmas and everything. So, but the beer and cheese party is one day a year near Christmas. Management will send you some cheese and they'll send you a check and say, go to the place and pick up some alcohol and just get fucked up and eat some cheese and
sounds like Severance.
And do karaoke.
That show Severance. They have that thing where they have that one party for them.
Yeah, they get some melon.
Yeah, some melon.
Yeah, that was that's pretty all right. I mean, most of my better memories are I guess, little moments I had with friends of mine who were in the church who, we were kind of, it was in defiance, or it was like, I was able to win certain arguments against the sort of justice arm, which are just, I mean, there's a lot of post titles and different people who enforce their ethics and justice system. And, I can't really say I miss any of it as like a as someone who was as involved as I was, but at the time,
beer and
you know,
cheese.
there were parts that I did enjoy, you know, knowing that I had, you know, some sort of status. You know, being a trained auditor was like a big thing. So, you know, it wasn't even until then that my parents even supported any of my goals. But
well, at the time too, that's
you know,
the only life that you knew. So
yeah,
you know, it's hard to compare to what it could have been. Speaking of when you left, how old were you when you left? How long were you thinking about it? And like, what was the final straw?
And one thing, was there times just before you left where you had a mate where you just talked to him or her every now and again and went, this all sounds like bullshit?
So it's actually an interesting story. I was married to a girl from the church. She's actually from Perth. Oh. She's Australian.
Wow.
So
Sam Roper.
So we met when we were both training to be auditors, and towards the end, I had this situation happen where I was going to do one of these very secret auditing things called the superpower rundown, and it's like it's this whole big thing, a very expensive Scientology thing. It was very important in Scientology. It's like a bunch of auditing, and then you go upstairs to the in that building in Clearwater, and there's like these like this gyroscope, this like you're training your senses, and there's like a lot of it's almost too much to explain, but it's just a very important thing that they do in Scientology. And I mentioned that I had this I was in session one day and I had this, realization. I was like, I actually don't think I want to be on staff my whole life. I think I want to pursue my dream of like being a writer and making movies and doing this, directing, acting, all these things that I wanted to do. And she smiled and she just kind of picked up a red pen and she just circled that in red, what she wrote down, what I said, and which is something that means like we're gonna look at this later. We're gonna send this up, and they sent it to.
Jeez.
No, they sent it to the management at Flag.
That's
my
savage. Really? So your wife dobbed you in?
She was made aware, but she didn't fight them on anything. We talked. I was actually subsequent to that. I was told I wasn't allowed to leave Flag at all until they figured out where to put me, because they were terrified. I don't know what they were worried about, but they just didn't know what to do with me. There was it's very disorganized for how organized they say they are. There's just so much random ambiguity as to like what policies to follow, because
they're busy with the gyroscope. You gotta figure out how to
they could have just put me up there and spun me a bit, and it's like one of those robotic gyroscopes. And just
I always thought they wanted movie stars. Why wouldn't they encourage you to?
They want you to be a movie star. I don't think they want you to make movies. I don't know.
Right. They want me to be famous. Entering Scientology, like if I became famous overnight, then that'd be fine. But I wanted to not be on staff and start writing sort of ground roots-esque. I didn't have too many prospects. I knew Tom Cruise's sister, but that was about it. And you're not allowed to talk to her about that kind of stuff when you're in there. So I was just planning on, I'm just gonna start writing stuff and see where that takes me. But I was there for 5 months. Because that wasn't where I lived. I was staying in a hotel, in the hotel connected to the Flag building. For 5 months, I wasn't allowed to leave. I was like used for my labor, and I was used, I was like in this limbo basically. And after I had some some self-harm thoughts towards the end, and they were like, "Oh, well, you should have said that because now you have to leave. Now we can't have you on the property." And I was like, "Oh. Okay." And so 2 hours later, I was kicked out of the hotel because it's a legal liability. Jesus and I stayed with a friend, and when I was there, I found out that my wife had called my parents and told them all these personal thoughts that I had been having, and basically dumped all my secrets to my family. And then they told the church right away that there was all this... all these secret things, and it's kind of like you just don't know who to trust, and there's a lot of snitching culture. But eventually I was just like, I got to get the fuck out of here. So I just need to take a break from Scientology. It was my initial thought. I was like, I just need a break. I'm not going to do anything. A few months later, I I went back to live with my parents because this was the beginning of COVID, like real early, like just before COVID had started. And I didn't have a place to live anymore because while I was at Flag, the Scientologists I was living with gave up my room that I was paying for. So I had to go collect my stuff, go up, live with my parents for a little bit, and then I was like, I just need a break. So I went to Perth for a month. And that was the first time out of the country, really. It's kind of like Florida with less of an ego.
Oh, Perth's banging.
And everyone talks funny.
Quokkas.
No, Perth, you go to Rottnest Island, see yourself a quokka. It's a fucking banger.
That was a quarantine zone at the time.
Did you
They wouldn't let us see the quokkas.
Did you go to the Carrying Up shopping centre? It's the best one in the country.
We went to the Spud. What's it, Spuds? We went to that one place. The that potato guy.
I don't know about
the grocery store.
Was it hard for you to make friends? Because that must have been a horrible time. Because it's the middle of COVID. Your whole community's been Scientology people. Now your family's not really talking to you. Now you're living in Perth. That must have been extraordinarily lonely. What did you do?
Yeah. Well, I just the idea that I would take a break. People were very cautious around me once I said that. My family, everyone was kind of just like watching me, but giving me some distance, but still kind of paying attention. And my wife was very sort of. I realized later that she kind of just she was more into the idea of being married, and I think she was in being married to me. Mm. And like having sort of like the fantasy of having everything in science, all my Scientologist dreams are coming true, kind of thing. But she didn't really give as much of a shit as I thought she did, or as she said. So I was very isolated. I've been pretty isolated for a lot of my life, but most of my dearest friends aren't even Scientologists. Especially from when I was in, there were just people who were okay with, they knew I was in a cult, but they weren't going to say anything about it. They were just like, they were supportive of me. And even when I left, they were supportive of me. But like even when I left, there were kids who I went trick-or-treating with who were like Scientologists, and they were like messaging people on my friends lists that I'm like some awful guy and they should block me right away. And, you don't talk to him anymore. He's an awful guy. So it is very isolating, but it's also you expect that, so that kind of ruminating, I'm going to take a break, evolved into, well, what more, this sounds familiar to other people who I assumed before were lying about Scientology. This is kind of like the same shit. So what more are they lying about? And you kind of start to do a little bit more research. And, I found an interview with L. Ron Hubbard that I didn't even know existed, that the Scientology completely lied about. And it was just so there. I didn't know why that kind of small thing would have been important to lie about. And it got me thinking and sort of evolved. And while I was in Perth, I was only there for about I think a month and a half. But, when I was there, I was watching, and my wife, she was also on staff. She was talking about a lot of contradictions in what management was saying. And, they were saying, oh, Perth Org has 10 times. The org is like the building, the individual church. The org is short for organization. Perth Org is 10 times the statistics, 10 times course hours and auditing hours. And she's like, but that's not even true. So I don't know where they're getting that information. And so all these things kind of stuck with me and kept with me and evolved into me not wanting to have anything to do with Scientology. But then I had the option of just shutting up for the rest of my life. And still having this family who, doesn't like me, or I could say something about it. But
you got to live the truth.
So I made a choice.
Would you consider yourself now to be an atheist, an agnostic, or another religion?
It's probably like more so agnostic. I don't look for the answers, as much anymore. I like to theorize, and I have certain concepts that I like more than others. But the universe is just too big to have such like solid, to put myself in solid states of declarative existence. Like in Scientology, everything is very black and white.
Right.
You are in this condition until you move up to some next condition or further state of being, and you can be moved into what are called lower conditions, like you can be assigned treason overnight. Getting a bit of an echo.
No, that's okay. It sounds good on our end.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, Forrest.
I have a question. I have some questions here that we asked. So, the money. How does? I know. It seems like there's a lot of property Scientology owns and stuff.
If you're there, you get Scientology bucks. They're like regular bucks.
How does that? What are like fees and costs associated with it? Jim said you got to buy the books and things like that. And then what is the IAS? I know that you mentioned that to us, that this is something to do with. Yeah, go ahead.
So as far as the fees go, the courses, the lower introductory courses range from about $60, and which is more of like the lighter preliminary kind of basic indoctrination. And then most of the training courses, which is what it's called when you move out of that range and you start doing, the basic books like Dianetics, Fundamentals of Thought, History of Man, these things. It's roughly like $60 to $70, sometimes $90, depending on where you go. But then when you do the bigger training courses that are for auditor training, and that we'll get into like the Bridge to Total Freedom, which is like a chart of all the services you can do. But your answer was also was nice. That would have been a lot better.
You can jump around at any point, by the way. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, the training courses start about $2,500 each.
Okay.
And they have.
So if you're homeless,
like
you can't enter. You can't come in if you're a homeless person. Like, do they ever say no to any? Like, if you come in and you very clearly have brain damage from a car accident, and you're like, oh, I want to be Scientologist. They say come in, or do they go, no?
Do you have money? That's the question.
Well, I got a bit of money from the settlement from the car accident.
Yeah, then let's help us. What would help you with your car accident is Dianetics. Let's heal you faster with your, by doing some auditing, and like they'll just like, I'll take that check, please, thank you. We're just gonna.
So there's no poor people unless they're doing the actual work, right? There's no poor people.
Unless they're doing work. There have been through the grapevine, I've heard of some stories where a homeless person came into one of the churches in Florida, and they were like, they read one of the books, they sat there and they were like, this is what I want to do. This makes sense. I want to do what you're doing. And he joined the Sea Org. And from there, he had no more bills. He was able to, they took care of him from there, and he's just tasked to do with whatever they need them to do. It's not I actually told that story to someone very colloquially, and they were very upset that I was creating this idea that like me spreading that me sharing that one story with another person was like spreading the idea that Sea Org members are these hobos, and I was like, no, I was just telling a single story.
But still, that
didn't deny it either.
Worked out for that guy, similar to joining the army or something.
It'd be like
some
opting
structure
into
in your
prison.
life.
There are a lot of people who are released from prison and go back because they like the.
You've watched Shawshank Redemption. You have no stats on this.
No, that's a real thing.
They throw a brick at a window and they wait to be picked up. People who have been in prison
for a long time often have a difficulty assimilating back into.
Are they all called Brooks?
No. Brooks Jr.
and so going... I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that doesn't stop there, because then you have auditing, which is sold in blocks of 12 and a half hours at $2,500 each. Or if you do it in Clearwater, it's $5,000 each.
Why is it more in Florida?
Because it's what's called an advanced org. It's at Flag. Flag is the most. It's like their spiritual headquarters.
Jim hates
so
Flag.
they just charge double for everything.
There is no state income tax, so it swings and roundabouts. It all works out. So is that the reason they're in Florida, because there's no state income tax? That's why the base is there? Probably.
I don't know. Well, they don't pay taxes at all.
Oh yeah,
so it's all charitable.
Yeah, true that.
So that you can actually write off, and they promote this. You can write off donations to Scientology on your taxes. So there are these big posters that say, "Let Uncle Sam help you," get a bigger tax refund by donating to Scientology, and they literally like.
Are they behind Cars for Kids?
Aid the transition and
Cars
doing
for
that.
Kids, they're bloody dodgy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll tell you what Scientology needs. They need a bloke to work on a better logo.
Yeah.
Like you watch the All Things comedy, it's simple. I don't know about that logo. It's a simple thing. It's like Scientology is like an S. It looks like the Stussy symbol with like a line through the middle.
It's like, is it 2 triangles?
Yeah, there's a couple of triangles.
Yeah.
It's too busy.
And then there's the cross.
There's a lot going on there, and it is so trademarked. In Scientology, you're actually you're not allowed to get Scientology tattoos. Like Scientology, if they're trademarked, you have to send a special request if you want, you can only buy their clothing. You can only buy their, anything with a Scientology symbol. You're not allowed to promote it in any way that isn't, approved sort of officially. So, you couldn't make Scientology jewelry. If you want it, you would have to. There's already a management organization that does that, and you have to buy it from them.
Really, and that's just like necklaces with the thing on it, and you can't get get the tat. Could you get your hair cut and get it in a fade in the side where you cut it in?
Yeah, you get a tattoo.
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
No, you said no tattoos.
Well,
no
what
tattoos.
Are they gonna do? Rip your skin off?
No.
Okay.
The Jewish people don't like the tattoos.
You're gonna
either.
you're gonna be in the hole.
I mean, if I got
they're
a
gonna put you in the. They're going to put you in lower conditions. So they'll sell these auditing intensives in big blocks. So in these big packages, which can range from $15,000 to $35,000 and even $60,000, depending on what your technical estimate is. Somebody who's reviewing you and who's selling you these services. Oh, you need to go. Here's your clear package. Here's your. This will take you from the bottom of the services all the way up to the state of clear. And
I have to check this very quickly. If there's any
checking your bank account, seeing how much you can afford.
I'm going to check if there's any Scientology porn.
Okay, while you're doing that, and the IAS, International Association of Scientologists, that's the fundraising arm of that.
Yeah, so the fundraising, they do
they get
most
Tom
of
Cruise
the heavy lifting.
Give them lots of money, I'm assuming.
The medal that he had, the medal that he had was given to him by the IAS. Mm-hmm. So the IAS does a lot of, they go to every single part of the Scientology world that they can, and they throw these fundraising events obsessively, and they squeeze out as much money as they possibly can, and they have $1 billion plus in reserves that are mostly either assets like property or just cash. There was actually a woman who came out and let them know when she sent a big wide.
Just quickly, there is.
Okay.
What's the platform? What is it on?
There's loads of videos of Scientology porn.
What is it?
I haven't watched it. I haven't watched
endorsed
it.
by Scientology.
I'll have to come back.
It just says Scientology porn amateur. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's endorsed by the church.
Yeah. Swingers in Scientology. Scientology and sex. Yeah, there's bloody Scientology porn.
It's actually funny. There's a guy, this small time YouTuber. This guy calls himself Tampa Brad, who likes to promote.
Shout out to Tampa Brad. Tampa Brad.
Yeah, he likes to promote Scientology. He actually doesn't do very much in Scientology at all, but he likes to talk about how he's this business mogul because Grant Cardone is a Scientologist, and Grant Cardone is his only is a big influencer for him. And it actually came out that he was some people figured out that he and his wife have an OnlyFans, and she is doing a bunch of content to pay for his Scientology services.
Wow.
So, and he's in them, and he's nutting on her face, and dick between the titties. I mean, she's got a nice pair. I'm not gonna lie.
Puts it up her L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, and the second it
I'm
was
gonna get in
revealed,
trouble.
her whole account
You're a
was like
Joker
taken down
integrator.
like overnight.
You're not getting in trouble. Oh, Ron's dead.
All right, we got to start wrapping it up for us.
Well,
This is a long podcast.
yeah, I know. Let's get to some of these. Free Winds, that's not a song they sing when someone dies, right?
Free Wind's definitely a song they
No.
sing when someone dies.
It's a spiritual it's the boat. It's the vessel that where you do OT8, where you do OT8, or you can pay to do a bunch of manual labor.
So that's the boat where they all salute and they sit with the hats and that type of stuff. I got to say, some of the girls in those outfits, though, watching the documentary, I was like, that outfit's all right, eh?
And then the bridge
and you wonder why they didn't want you.
Because I'm a disruptor.
They'd let you around some of the SEAL
grader.
women, and you get a little handsy. They'd.
I'm not
have to slap
handsy.
you
I'm
with
very respectful.
the bridge to total freedom, is that when you're always telling the truth? That's what Jim said.
It is not. It is a list of services you can do in Scientology. It's on the big two-sided two columns that cover what you can do as auditing and what you can do to train to be an auditor, basically. That goes all the way up to...
Give me one of the most popular slogans from Scientology, like, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice, or if there's
Something
time to
can be done
lean,
about
there's
it.
time to clean. Oh, something can be done about it.
Yeah. Which is ironic, because they don't do a whole hell of a lot. They have another one...
Very similar to, we can all do better.
That was Jim's slogan.
That was my slogan for a bit. We can all do better. I still stand by that. We can all do better.
And
We could. We're not going to.
I
but
think
could.
we can all do
We
better.
all could.
the space opera in Xenu, that's part of what's going on there.
Yeah, a lot of people get this one wrong, but basically when you reach the level of OT3, which is an operating Thetan 3, yeah, it's like it's this big turning point. You're an advanced. It's like an advanced level in Scientology. You basically find out from L. Ron Hubbard that around 75 million years ago, Xenu was the ruler of a galactic confederation of planets, and to solve overpopulation, he lured his people by tax audit, and he froze and transported billions of his own people into spaceships that were similar to DC-8s to a planet called Tigiak, or Earth, as we know it. They were placed near volcanoes and killed by exploding hydrogen bombs, and after which their Thetans, them as Thetans, were gathered up, sat in front of TV screens and brainwashed, and given fake memories of different religions, and then gathered up again and then sprinkled all over the earth and remained to inhabit the bodies of earthlings, causing humans great spiritual harm.
Makes
And
sense.
this is where the auditing...
And they're wondering why their religion isn't building. such a simple philosophy.
Okay.
Yeah,
So easy to remember.
And so that's OT. So what happens? It goes OT 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then going clear. That's the.
No, going clear. So you do the lower bridge. There are like these grade levels. So you grade 0. I could go through all of them, but clear, and then you do OT preparations, and then after OT preparations, you do 1 and 2, and they're like courses on how to, because you audit yourself on these OT levels. You telepathically communicate with the Thetans that are stuck to your body, and you find out later on. Up the OT levels that none of your past lives were actually yours. They were just the memories of these body Thetans. And then there is no 9 and 10, 11, 12, and 13, 14, 15.
And you pay to audit yourself.
They haven't made them.
And how long did it take for you to go clear?
When I was actually allowed to do the services, was actually paid for it. It didn't take me very long, but there's a lot of stuff in between. I went clear when I was, I think, 22.
And did you walk
And
around
then-
like, fucking, I'm clear, bitches? like
Yeah, basically, you don't get a hat, but you get a silver bracelet with a big old fat Scientology symbol on it. It says your clear number on the back too. I still have it.
You just hold it up. You're like, anyways, that's looking at that fence.
You're just like, it's around. It's
yeah, you're like,
it's like,
get that
give me
thing
that book
over
off the
there
shelf.
for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And then.
And did your wife ever go, leave the bracelet on?
Well, she had one too, Jim. So.
Oh, yeah. You got hand jobs where you could hear the clanging of fetus.
They were quite loud. I'm not gonna lie. There was some pinching as well. So
Clanging of
it was a little
cleaners.
dangerous.
Criminal activity, maybe Operation Snow White and Operation Freakout. Maybe we can just, I mean, we can talk about that real quick.
Yeah, we can jump through. So Snow White was actually attempts by L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology leadership to infiltrate and destroy any records, any negative records of L. Ron Hubbard in things like the IRS. They had it was said at one point they had upwards of 5,000 Scientology basically plants in different government organizations all around the world. Where they were, funneling government folders and files through directly to L. Ron Hubbard, and they had basically the government one of the guys basically was almost caught, and when they tried to because he had like infiltrated the IRS, and the government was looking for him, so Scientology kidnapped him, put him in some secret facility, and kept him there for a few months. And then once he escaped, he turned himself into the FBI. And there was one of the biggest raids, ever done on a cult was done on Scientology in L.A. And they recovered over 48,000 documents that were recovered and collected through the espionage from Scientology.
Yeah, but what just happened at Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah.
Like, let's impeach L. Ron Hubbard. He's impeached now. Oh,
We got him.
Take away their tax status.
Good luck.
They got the tax status.
They lost their tax exempt status.
Yeah.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they only got it back.
They lost it, and then they did in 1993. They did the whole. They personally attacked and harassed individual members of the IRS, and slandered them and got them their jobs. They got fired, and there's a lot of like personal threats going on, and they eventually were able to get their tax exempt status reinstated, and since then it's sort of been like this urban legend that if you talk bad about Scientology, David Miscavige is going to come in your closet and watch you.
Well, I don't want
He's not
that.
gonna come in your closet.
I don't want any cum in my closet. If I see cum in my closet, it'll either be Forrest or David McSavish.
Well, you hear his bracelet.
Is that a euphemism? Okay. All right.
You'll hear his bracelet jingling if he's in there.
And then the psychiatry question. Why no psychiatry?
Yeah. So, like I said, in the 50s, when L. Ron Hubbard was sort of told off by the APA, he declared that psychiatrists were were descendant from these invader forces from millions of years ago, who are the pinnacle of all evil, and they shocked and manipulated Thetans, and they beat them down into this like degraded form. Essentially, it's like the antithesis to Scientology, whereas in Scientology, they say, oh, we're trying to lift you out of this sort of physical entrapment. Psychiatry is said to like make you more of a body and more matter. And they just, they disregard every sector of mental health and provide no alternative.
Well, they have that museum here in LA, which is the Museum of Horror or something like that.
Museum of Death?
Yeah, Industry of Death.
Industry of Death.
Wait, that's
Scientology. Yeah.
Museum of Death is?
Yeah,
the Citizens Commission on Human Rights is entirely funded by the Church of Scientology.
It just shows you pictures of people getting like electric shock therapy. Like,
no, I've heard people have gone to that museum and they're like, I didn't know.
Isn't there like a Church of like happiness here too? Like some happiness thing?
The Way to Happiness Foundation.
Are you in what's recovery? Do you see therapy about this? Are there groups for people like you who have left the church where you can all get together like alcoholics do, or what goes on there? I'm not trying to be funny.
Well, because when you leave a cult, most cults are identically most cults are very identical in the way that they abuse you, and that abuse can be generalized. And although Scientology has like a whole bunch of nomenclature and so much context, I guess, to the individual stories. I have been through a lot of therapy with a specialist who specializes in this kind of thing, But it is hard, to especially when you leave Scientology and you think that you kind of identify every form of mental health with like psychiatric drugging, and you don't have to even you're like terrified at the idea that you take an antidepressant and you're gonna like go on a mass shooting spree, because that's what Scientology will tell you is going to happen if you take antidepressants.
I've taken them for years.
Yeah.
Only one mass shooting.
Yeah, great. Ian, this is the part
I never got caught neither.
This is the part of our show called Dinner Party Facts, where we ask our expert to give us some sort of obscure, interesting. I've given a lot of obscure, interesting facts already. I think that's a lot of Scientology. But do you have anything that like this our listeners would be able to use if this came up at a dinner party and just really wow people with this?
Yes. Yeah. There's something in Scientology called the Cause Resurgence Rundown. Okay? There's a confidential service that you can pay for. It's $2,500. You can do it as many times as you want, but it's $2,500. And what it is you run around in a circle in a pitch black room around like a 30-foot dimly lit pole for 5 hours a day.
Wow.
For like a month. A month and a half.
What does that get you? How does that help you?
But so you're in the room and you're running in a circle.
Yeah. What are you getting, Jim?
Yeah, what's not clear to you, Jim?
Yeah, I've been to clubs like this.
$2,500 to exercise.
There's a girl that spins around the pole, and I throw dollars at her.
Cause resurgent system.
And at the end of it, are you meant to feel like good exercise?
I'm lighter from that $2,500.
The lore answer, the sort of answer they'll give you is clearing up stuck energy flows that are holding you down. But it was actually invented by L. Ron Hubbard to kind of it was like as a punishment for people who were working for him who weren't doing enough. He had them run around a flagpole. So that kind of evolved into this service that you can do, where you run around this big pole with like 15 others. You're not allowed to talk to anyone, and you just do it 5 hours a day.
You sprayed it.
Yeah, but Forrest, you're allowed to do it as many times as you want. That's the secret.
It's just $2,500.
It sounds expensive, but you can do it every day.
Yeah, well, the pounds just shut off.
Yeah. You run around a pole in a dark room.
Yeah.
For 5 hours a day.
It's better than keto.
Mate, thank you very much.
You get your own uniform, which is, it's a whole pitch black uniform.
Oh, yeah.
I still got it in the closet. It's pretty comfy.
You paid for that shit? You actually went in for that one?
He was in Scientology.
I know, but he didn't have to do that one.
When do you think he was like, not this? This is where I draw the line. He was already in it. Yeah. Ian, thanks for being here with us. You can find Ian on his YouTube channel at Ian Rafalko. That's IanRafalko, and then IG and Twitter at Ian Rafalko. Thank you for being here with us. And
thank you so much for being on the podcast, Ian. It was eye-opening. I thought I knew everything. It turns out I knew very little. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're ever at a party and someone goes, there's a spaceship that takes them up to a special place and we're all monkeys that are in each other's bodies, go, I don't know about that. And then walk away. Good night, Australia.